It's that time of year again. My name is Kevin, and thank you for joining me here. Today we're going to check out a tune you guys might be familiar with called Silent Night. And not only are we going to play it on the uke, but we're going to play it with chord melody. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really cool stuff to share with you here. So get yourself tuned up, and let's get to it. Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and click that alert bell so you know when the next video is coming your way. If you're interested in more learning resources, head over to allforuke.com where we have a full searchable library of songs, song sheets, practice tracks, worksheets, and more. All for you, allforuke.com. So before we get started, a few things to mention here. This song is being played from the version in the 365 Days of Ukulele. I'll leave a link in the description to that book. I also want to mention the song is in 3/4 time signature, the key of G, and I'll be using my uke with the low G string here on top. So when you're playing chord melody, if you have a low G, it is to your advantage because you can get to a lot more of the low notes that you have in music. With the high string, the interval's a little funky, so I chose to use the low G string. This might be a good chance for you to swap out the high string and try out life with low G. So we just need 4 chords for this tune here. We're gonna walk through those. So the first chord that we use is a G major chord. Sounds like this. You can hear that nice, low, resonant G string ringing through. So I play that with index finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring on the 3rd fret of the E string, and my middle finger on the A string 2nd fret. I will be using a variation of this chord throughout the tune as well, where I play with my index finger on the C string of the 2nd fret and my middle finger on the E string of the 3rd fret, and I just play the top of the chord. So learn both of those positions. The second chord that we need is a C chord. The C chord, again, has a little quirk to it here. We can play it with our ring finger on the A string of the 3rd fret like normal. However, in this tune, for the chord melody, we're really only going to play the top 3 strings. So you're going to hear the G, C, and E string together, and that's actually a C chord triad as well. So that's chord number 2. Chord number 3 is a D major chord. I'm going to play this chord with my index, middle, and ring finger on the 2nd fret of the G, C, and E string, like so, which takes me to our D7 chord. This happens towards the end of the melody here. I'm going to take my pinky and reach out here to the 3rd fret of the A string to play my D7 chord. Now typically you would play it with the bar chord over the 2nd fret and your middle finger in that position, but because of needing the open strings in the melody, this is a little trick I put together to make it easier to get to the D7 chord. And the second variation of D7 that we need is just going to be our open version of the chord, where we use our middle finger on the G string 2nd fret, ring finger on the E string of the 2nd fret. Same notes as the D7 chord, but again, we make some adjustments here for chord melody to make things easier to get in and out of chords. So those are the 4 chords you need. Let's get into the tune. All right, so now I'm going to demonstrate section 1 for you, and then I'm going to take you through it line by line. So here we go. So those are for the lines Silent Night, Holy Night, All is Calm, All is Bright. So first thing we do here is we start off with a G chord. Now, I'm not going to play the full G chord. I'm going to start off with my index finger on the C string of the 2nd fret, my middle finger on the E string of the 3rd fret. So I'm in this position here, and I'm doing that because I want to allow my ring finger to be free to grab that 4th fret. So my first move here is I'm going to do a single down strum on the top 3 strings, and that's for Si, and then I play the 4th fret of the C string, pull that off, and I'm going to play the 2nd fret of the C string, and then I land on the G string with my ring finger And I'm going to try to sustain that note so it kind of hangs out over the measure. So to do that, I'm kind of shaking my finger side to side as I land on the G string. So again, we have strum, 4, 2, 4. And then we just repeat that a second time. And as we move on to All Is Calm, I'm switching over to my D7 chord here, and I'm using the 2-finger shape for this. And I do a single down strum all the way through the chord, followed by a single pluck on the open A string. And I keep this D7 chord down and just play the E string of the 2nd fret. So we have All is calm. And we move back over to our G shape, and we just play again, same exact thing, index and middle finger, top 3 strings, followed by a single pluck on the 3rd fret, which our middle finger is already playing, and end that phrase with a single pluck on the 2nd fret of the C string, which we're already playing as well. So this little part here is all is calm, all is bright. All right, so now let's put those 2 components of the first section together. Here we go. If you're digging the sound of my uke, head over to allforuke.com/shop. You can have a Kala ukulele for yourself. When you buy your Kala ukulele through All for Uke, you're supporting us, and we really appreciate it. Make sure you check it out. Concerts, sopranos, tenors, baritones, a wide selection of accessories, capos, and more. All for you, allforuke.com/shop. All right, now for our second section here, I'll demonstrate this. All right, so that C chord we talked about in the beginning. We don't need to play the actual A string here when we play this. We're going to start off this section with a single down strum over the 3 top strings, G, C, and E. So we start off with, followed by a single pluck on the E string, and then we follow that up with a little pull off here. So this is going to connect those notes nicely. We start on the 3rd fret of the E string, and we're going to pull off from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret. So what I do is I pluck this string and make 2 notes with a single pluck. So rather than plucking 3, 2, I just do 1 single pluck here with my strumming hand, and I pull off this note. And I follow that up with an open E string. So that is again C, open, pull off. So with the pull off, I really encourage you to even pull at the string a little bit as you do this to get that nice roll in between the notes. And then we follow that up with back to our G shape here, just playing the top 3 strings. We do a single down strum, follow that up with 4th fret of the C string, 2nd fret of the C string, and we land on the G string of the 4th fret again, and we can sustain that note. So we have down strum, 4, 2, 4. The cool thing about this is that line we just did is repeated exactly the same for the lyrics, Holy Infant, so tender and mild. So you don't need to learn anything else for this section. We just have that little part there. So let's put those 2 little pieces together and see what it sounds like. We have repeat that again. And that's our second section. All right, so section 3, I'll demonstrate for you, and then we'll play through it. All right, so this section starts off with a D chord. Now, we're going to play this a certain way so we have access to the D and the D7 because they come up right next to each other. So I'll give you both options. You can tell me which one you like, but I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. So I'm going to start off doing index, middle, and ring for my D chord here on the top 3 strings. And I do a full strum through all 4 strings, followed by an open string pluck of the A string. From there, I'm going to take my pinky, and our pinky doesn't get used often, but this is a good chance to work on it, and play the full D7 chord here. And then I take my pinky off and play the open A string. And then I play the E string, which I'm already fretting with my D chord. So let me show you that again. I do strum of the D chord, open A, put the pinky down, strum, open A again, and then E string 2nd fret. So after that, we go back to this familiar G shape we've been using for most of the tune here. Single down strum over those top 3 strings, followed by, and now to the final line of the song, we go back to that familiar G shape we've been using where we just use our index and middle finger. And we strum the top 3 strings, and then a single pluck on the 2nd fret of the C string, which we're already holding down. And then we take our ring finger up to the 4th fret of the G string, follow that up with just a little melody here of 2, 0, 2, and that's C string 2nd fret, then open C string, and then G string, and then we finish the whole thing off with a single down strum on the G chord. So let's just show you that nice and slow again. So we have 2, 4, 2, 0, 2, G. All right, so now I'm going to combine those 2 little components together, starting on the D chord. All right, so now we're going to play the whole thing together. I'm going to make my best effort to sing here and a little quasi Kevin/Bing Crosby voice. And here we go, starting on the little G shape here. 1, 2, 3. Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright, round young virgin mother and child, holy infant so Well, I hope you enjoyed our chord melody version of Silent Night. I really appreciate you joining me. Make sure you jump over to allforuke.com where I have a full tab put together with the lyrics laid over this. Also, you can check out the 365 Days of Uke book. I'll leave a link for that in the description. Let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite holiday songs? Anything you want to hear this year? Let me know. I love hearing from you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's Kevin. Take care.
Let's get carried away.